Welcome to the Scaling Creative podcast.
Yes.
So excited. I feel like our team is growing, but the
podcast is shrinking.
podcast is shrinking.
Yeah. It's harder to get everybody in one place.
Yes.
For a podcast.
And
so we're doing our best.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done.
There is.
So
it's a good problem, but a problem that you have to, obviously, we have to
adjust.
Navigate and figure out how to do it. But just Michaela and I today, and we also try to make sure that we put like different people on the podcast that would kind of make sense for what we're talking about. So sometimes you're going to see that we have 6 people, 7 people. Other times there's 2 of us. So today's just the 2 of us. It's an important topic, though.
Yes, it is. Today we are talking about voice technology and really how it is shifting. I mean, like technology for years to come now. I mean, this is the direction that we're going. And so it's important to talk about it because it's coming and it's becoming more and more popular and it's becoming more important for businesses to learn about it. This is a good time to experiment and try some new things. So voice technology, how would you like describe voice technology?
I mean, in its simplest form, all we're really talking about is the idea of voice controlling something.
Devices?
Devices, giving you answers, whatever it is. It's the idea of, and for anyone who has Alexa devices, I'm going to try to say those words as little as possible so it doesn't deactivate and throw off all your systems. But anyone that has devices like this, if you're watching online, I'm holding up a Alexa device. And anyone who has those kind of devices, what we're essentially talking about is just that voice as a whole is just taking over what how people utilize it.
Yep.
It's just an unbelievable time saver that it's becoming, I think we're listening to something Mark Cuban was talking about how it's becoming very normal. It's not a foreign thing anymore.
Yeah.
So where it was weird for people to even remember that those things existed, it's now more weird when I go somewhere and I say it and I'm like, oh, wait, I'm in a hotel room. Yeah. She's not listening.
Yes.
So it's becoming so much more normal when it's around that it's not normal when it's not.
It's not around.
Yes.
Yeah. Even like my daughter who's 8, we were camping this summer and she's like, Mom, you know who I really miss? I was like, who? Alexa. Like, oh shoot. I just turned her off. I just made her go off. But anyways, like, so you think about kids these days and how they're growing up, like it's just going to be so normal to them. So voice technology is changing how we surf the internet, how we buy products. I think that's a huge one. And even just how we interact with our devices. Like before this podcast, you had your phone make a reminder.
Yeah.
For you.
And I mean, for me, like anyone who knows me knows that voice is a huge thing for me. It's been for a while, but it's becoming even better because now that all the devices, including like Siri and all those, they have an activation to them, which is, with Alexa, you say her name, and then with Siri, it's the hey. I'm trying not to say them so the devices don't go all over the place, but they all have like activation codes that you say and then they listen.
Right.
That's where everything started to change because like Siri has been on phones for a while, but up until about a year ago or so when they activated like being able to say, hey Siri, it changes it because it's now listening to you at all times. Now there's lots of debate on whether it's actually listening to you at all times. I do think it does. And I'm okay. Honestly, I'm one of those people. Maybe one day it'll come back to bite me. I don't really care about privacy whatsoever. Yeah. I feel like if you can listen to everything, like I know they have to be listening because I randomly, and I never talk about a waterbed, but my wife and I were randomly like, remember a long time ago, like we're literally just having conversations, and 2 hours later when I was on YouTube, a video suggested, and it was what happened to waterbeds. Yeah. Like, and no joke, I didn't look through those at all. So I know that's listening, but I'm okay with it because I was like, exactly. Yeah. I wanted to know as well, and I pressed it, and I was watching it. Yeah. So I'm one of those people that doesn't really care much about the privacy side because I kind of feel like if it actually does what I want it to do, right? Like if you really want to listen to me all the time, it's not that exciting. So like, they can do it.
It's true. It's not that exciting.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, that's what we're talking about. So as a whole, we're talking about just those devices. We're talking about all that. But yeah, it's becoming so normal. My 4-year-old finally can say everything clear enough that she can make songs come on that she wants. My 2-year-old tries his very best, but he just can't say it, but he's well aware how it works. He thinks he has to go to a certain spot to do it.
Okay.
So he goes like right next to it.
Cute.
But he always tries to do it, but then it only picks up my 4-year-old, so she changes anything, and then he tries to change it back, and he can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk about how normal it is for them.
Yeah, so
they're
normal.
2 and 4 years old, and they know that literally when you want music, you ask her.
It's
crazy.
It's so crazy. And I think in like the coming years, you're going to be able to talk to your fridge. We already have a microwave in there. That is an Alexa microwave. Ask our fitness trackers questions, be able to literally talk to everything. Talk to your television, talk in your car, which I think is that already starting?
Yeah, it's already in most cars. And then Amazon just made an actual like Alexa device for the car.
Okay.
So that any car can just have it built in, and then it works off your phone's internet connection.
Okay.
And then I know I think Buick, one of the companies, it may not be Buick, is the first one to actually put like her built into your car now.
Yeah.
So it's all the same premise. It's about voice saves you time.
Right.
So that's why it's convenient everywhere, because it's just more convenient to say something, no matter where you are at that's listening, and have her do what you're asking. It just saves you time.
Yep.
And so the more that Amazon can get these things happening everywhere, just like is going to be unbelievable for them. It already is, but everybody else is just struggling to figure out how they're going to keep up with what Amazon's doing, because they're dominating.
I know, which we'll be talking about a little
bit.
But even in just like recent years, so there were nearly 5 million home automation devices on the market in 2016. All of them belonged to Amazon. But by the end of 2017, like not that much longer later, Google and Amazon together had sold 27 million devices, most of them being Alexa. But now we've got other people coming into the game, or at least trying to, with like Apple and Samsung and just all these other things. I even read that like Facebook might have a stab at some type of, I don't know, smart screen with voice capabilities.
Yeah, there's lots of people. The reason that Amazon just has such an advantage is because they own the shopping platform that we all live on.
Right.
That's the problem that everyone's going to struggle with. It's you can save people time all they want by asking questions, but where we're going with shopping and with search and all that kind of stuff, it's Amazon dominates, because you already buy everything on Amazon, and now when you can do it via voice, is even easier.
Yeah.
So everyone else, it'll be interesting to see like what their thought process behind it is, like why, it makes sense for people like Apple and even Google to take things seriously, because Google owns the search engines, but they also own devices with Android and all that. Apple owns the phones, so there's plenty of reasons for them to be in it. But then it's going to be this battle of what you can do on what device and who owns what technology, and so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But everyone knows it's going voice. That's the reality. It's just it's not like a guess.
It's taking over our homes for sure, and especially I feel like just in the way that we buy. I'm always buying stuff on it, and even my friend that got me my first Alexa was his gift to me when I first moved into my house, and he told me this story that his nephew was over at his house and knows how to use the device and everything, and then 2 days later he gets this huge package like on his door. And he opens it up, and it was 27 bags of Doritos.
Because this was his son that ordered them.
His nephew ordered them. He's like, what the heck? He's like, well, why did something go wrong? And he realized that like his nephew did it. But like, talk about easy.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That there's a real issue with that kind of stuff too, because if they put a step between it, it then is inconveniencing you as well. So I know like with the Apple, with the iPhones and everything, it listens to your voice uniquely, and I know that obviously Alexa's. I think you also can set that up now. They just started changing some of that. Yeah. But they have to figure that whole thing out, because they are figuring it out. But because that happened a lot. There were lots of cases of that you saw happening, of kids ordering things because people had it conveniently set up as like the one, no sort of checking necessary.
No, more one clicks.
But it is convenient. Shopping is the big thing because like that's for me. I used to anytime I needed something like let's say deodorant or shaving cream, whatever, I would always put it in a shopping like list. My wife and I had a shared reminder app. I don't anymore. I literally just order it on the spot.
Yep.
And I don't ever tell her when I need anything because it's just like why would I? It's just easier to walk out and say it, or actually I can say it from the bathroom and say it, and it gets there the next day or the next day, and it's just convenient. It's convenience.
For sure. So I think it's obvious, and I think most people definitely understand that voice is taking over, but what does that mean for businesses? And why are we talking about it right now?
I think it goes down to a scary thing that people have to realize in business, and that brand has always been something that's incredibly important. It's about to be the only thing that matters when voice becomes the only thing happening. Okay, so here's a scenario that you have to imagine a couple of years down the road when it's even more normal than it is. People are going to order things every day, like Alexa, order me a pizza.
Yeah.
Order me, I need more soda. I want whatever. They're either going to say that generically and say, Alexa, order me soda, or they're going to say a brand. When you go to a restaurant, you don't say, can I have a soda?
Right.
You either say Coke or Pepsi. More often it's Coke because it's just what has become normal. It's weird to say, can I have a soda?
Right. Or
you say, can I have a Coke? Or exactly, Kleenex, whatever. That's brand. They've dominated the brand game of you saying, can I have a Coke?
Right.
That is brand in a nutshell, but that's what it's going to be on a voice device too. And you're either going to have the option that they think of your brand and straight up say your brand, or they're not going to get your product because the highest bidder, which is never going to be, let's just talk about the smaller businesses right now. And small business is everyone compared to what the big companies actually can do.
Right.
Amazon can own any soda company they want or can create their own generic soda company, their Amazon Basics or whatever. It is coming.
Yeah.
But Amazon still wants to make sure that you can sell all your products through their store.
Right.
Even if they own every type of thing, they still make money when you order from them. So they still make money when someone says, Alexa, order me Coke. But if you don't say Coke, they decide, or advertising money decides which one you get offered.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if they don't say your name first, you lost. And the same way that Coke comes off your tongue and Kleenex comes off, those natural things, you have to realize that the reality of what you're selling is going to be a voice search game.
Right.
And you better hope you're doing everything possible to make you be the norm for that. Because, like, if you think of brand, like, if I say name a basketball player, famous basketball player.
LeBron.
Okay, so the brand to you of the NBA is LeBron. Then Michael Jordan for other people, whatever. The first thing that comes to your mind when you think of any product is what brand is the strongest to you in that.
Right.
And that's why it's going to be so important to be building brand and building brand and building brand so that when eventually they say, you can now purchase all your favorite makeup on Alexa, you're like, Alexa, order me, I don't know, makeup, but you would say the specific brand with the specific thing because you like it. You wouldn't just say order me makeup.
Right.
And that's what everybody has to just start to realize is that it's not that you even tomorrow have to build. We're going to talk about skills and all these things. It's not even that I'm saying tomorrow you have to worry about building all these Alexa skills. You should be understanding what they are, and we'll talk a little bit about them. But more importantly, you should be realizing that everything you're doing now from a branding perspective is going to be so incredibly important 5 years from now, 10 years from now, more than anything.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about, like, when we put a random video out right now, the video may not necessarily do anything right now. But if it's essentially building brand for the long term, that if people eventually say, I need to film a video, but instead they say, you know, I need Scaling Creative to film me a video, whatever. There's got to be some sort of brand that comes to mind for the service.
Right.
So you're constantly just getting people to see your brand so that when it becomes even more normal for voice to be everything, they're saying your name.
Right.
And it's scary to think about it because there's a lot of you're not going to be able to win on spending money on the ads to be in the front. because you won't be able to afford it.
Right.
Eventually, it'll be underpriced at first. Like it's incredibly underpriced right now to run those kind of ads because nobody's doing it. Eventually, just like everything cashes up, we talk about it all the time in this podcast, underpriced and overpriced. Eventually, it'll be overpriced, and you'll have zero chance of spending the kind of money to get her Alexa to be able to say, what type of Coke do you want?
Yeah.
We suggest, and that's the ad money.
Right.
You probably aren't going to be able to spend that kind of money. So you're going to need to just have them say you first.
Right.
And not hope that another search wins.
So, and we have a podcast on branding specifically too. But so kind of what you're saying is, even though maybe necessarily you're not going to be on the like forefront right now of voice or as big as obviously like Amazon, but building your brand right now is one of the most important things you can do.
Yeah.
For your business.
Because it's not about, you're not competing with Amazon.
Right.
You're competing with whoever's in your space that's going to beat you to the voice platform.
Right.
Nobody's spending time with voice. There was a time that it seemed really stupid to have your entire company built on an app on a phone. And look at these companies that have literally made billion-dollar companies, Snapchat and all these companies that are nothing except a phone app.
Yes.
It seemed crazy a long time ago that you would not have all these different things on top of it. It's going to be the same for voice.
Yeah.
There are going to be games that people sit around
And
Alexa devices and play. There already are games, but that's going to be normal. You're going to have everything at your disposal just around you that it's not going to be like it used to be. You're not going to pull out games like you used to. You're not even going to turn on, like, I think that we talked about this earlier off the podcast, but about like devices, and I don't necessarily think that devices are going anywhere anytime soon because of the camera aspect and the capturing. Like, I do think there'll be a time when contact lenses and things and all that, but it's still, there's still, I think it's a long way before we're not literally carrying a device.
I agree.
But I carry a device around, but most of my commands are either to my watch or to my AirPods that have like Hey Siri built in. Yeah. Because it's quicker. So you still are already in a voice. You're just becoming more and more normal to it. Right. That I think that's kind of why it's just an interesting thing to think about. Yeah. Of how different it's going to be.
Yeah. You had mentioned Alexa skills. And honestly, before I started doing some research for this podcast, like I didn't really know what that was. It's very interesting. So can you tell us what Alexa skills are?
Yeah, so Alexa skills can be anything, but it's the idea of essentially building, the simplest way is like there's an app that you can make for your phone. There's an app that you make for Alexa. They call it skills. So basically like you could have a skill. So there's a magic 8-ball skill. Well, where the skill is just that it's acting like a magic 8-ball. When you say Alexa acts the magic 8-ball, blah blah blah, and if you have that skill enabled, it becomes. So a skill can be like a game. A skill can be recipes. Like I know, I forget what big company.
Food Network, you said?
Food Network, I think, yeah. Food Network has like a daily recipe that can be, there's people that do huge podcasts or do lots of content, people like Gary Vee who have like a daily little something. It could be a piece of a keynote or it could be some sort of motivation, whatever. So skills aren't a thing, like a skill is one specific thing. It really depends on what people build it on. But the idea of a skill is that you're making an app for these devices. So in the same way that it's really silly these days to have any sort of company that doesn't have an app, if you are some sort of direct-to-consumer type of company, it's going to be really silly eventually to not have something that is integrated with it. Because you get even unlimited skills that are on it. You just install the skills, and then they do different things depending on what it actually is. So there are people like the thermostat company Nest, who is also owned by Amazon. They owned by Amazon? Yeah, they're owned by Amazon. They own Nest, and it doesn't matter. That's not important. But I think they are. But they have a skill built so that when I talk to Alexa and say set the temperature to something, the skill knows that when I'm talking in that language to control that thermostat. So you have to install these skills. So they can be useful skills like that. They can be funny skills. A skill could be like tell me a knock joke.
Yeah.
Like, and someone builds a unique skill just for that. So really, it's all over. But the whole point is, it's just think of it in this most simple way of just, you're making an app.
Okay.
For Alexa or Google. Okay. Google Chrome has their own platform as well. So it's just like making an Android one or an iPhone one. Amazon has their own skill platform. And you can get, so just like it's becoming really popular to be the people who create iPhone apps, that's like a huge coding type of thing. There are companies that are starting to become known as the ones that build skills because it's entirely different.
Yeah.
There's nothing visual.
Right.
It's all voice. Now there'll be things that link to your TV and stuff, but like it's voice. So it's a whole different. So we talked offline about like, what does that look like for businesses? It's tricky.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what you necessarily are going to do. I just know you probably need to think about what.
Yeah.
But I don't think that every company, just like every company doesn't have an app. I don't necessarily think everyone has to have a skill. But I think everyone has to build brand. Yeah. Or else you're in trouble.
Yeah. And just also think it's an important conversation to have because it builds awareness. So even if, it's a conversation that you need to have with your company or marketing department or whatever it is, like, what are we doing? What's that going to look like? What can we do now? What can put us ahead? Like just having conversations about voice, I think is really important because you never know what type of ideas you'll come up with. Because even I had asked you, my nonprofit beforehand, I'm like, what the heck, what kind of skill would I make for that? And we just started talking about it. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it gets your brain thinking and new thought. So it's kind of exciting. Is there anything other than like sitting down and having a conversation and thinking about like being forward, thinking about it? Like, what would you recommend to businesses? Is it just focusing on brand right now or having the conversation? What else would you say to businesses
to prepare for this whole thing? I think the most important thing right now, because it's also still important right now regardless, is just the importance of realizing how important brand is and what that looks like from a what you're doing right now perspective. Because in the same way that we preach to all the companies we work with, like the idea of creating things that are more about brand than selling, that's a great method now, and it's also building for a great method in the future of brand being more important than selling. So it's going to look different for each company, but I think the premise of just getting people to understand just how important brand is and how important it's going to be. Brand has always been important. From day one, it's been important. And the companies that have really done well overall have really understood that. Because they've put more emphasis on just Apple's a great company that understands that so well, which is why every commercial you see never ends with like call today or this Apple.com. Like people know the Apple, period. They know where to get it. They like, and there's a lot of companies that do that. A lot of companies that you can just put a logo and they know what it is, and that's brand. But that's visual. It changes. And so I think it is important to just think more about what you're doing right now to build the brand awareness for people for you to come off someone's tongue naturally when they're talking about whatever it is you sell.
And I don't know if it's bad to say this, but like you need to spend money to build a brand.
Yeah, you do.
You have to.
Especially
if it's not really your thing. It's just an area that I think more companies and businesses should take some of their dollars and really look at where it's going and figure out like where the world is going and put your money in that. And if it's shifting toward brand, like you have to have more marketing, whether it's, I mean, we always talk about video because it's just the world that we live in, but, video is so important, all that kind of stuff, but it requires money and a shift in thinking. Because I think, I mean, we've talked about this in the office, just even some of our parents' companies or things that they work for, they're stuck where they're at. And so are their clients are stuck there and they're not growing. And it's because they're not willing to spend money in the right areas.
Yeah. And I mean, we have so many different podcasts. I would definitely suggest if for some reason this is like the first podcast that like people are coming across, if this is the first one, definitely go back and watch some of the branding one, watch some of the marketing ones, because we don't want to talk about all the same things in this podcast. But obviously what we talk about all the time is just the importance of branding, the importance of spending money in the right places from a marketing strategy, all those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the same way that people are still so far behind the curve in so many different methods of marketing, this will be the same type of new wave of things. Audio will take over, and then there'll be people 20 years from now, they're like, we're starting to do video. And you're like, yeah, why are you now just starting that? Like, what did you wait so long for? Like, that's how it'll be. There's always just people that are way behind the curve on things.
It's true.
And there'll be a time when we will never sit here on a podcast and say you should spend money on Facebook when it's insanely overpriced and expensive like it will be one day. Like, it's just, everything shifts. And so we're just always trying to think in advance of things, and most importantly, realize that you can't be like just romantic to the way things were.
Yeah.
And you can hate that eventually brands will be the only thing that matters and that they're going to voice activate everything, but you hating it doesn't mean it's going to change.
Exactly.
So just trying to think more and more of brand is the only thing that over the course of time and all marketing has still always, it's always the most important.
Yeah, it wins.
It's just it's just the difference of how people show it. And the people that ultimately really, really win are so good at brand because brand is actually so much easier to actually market with, because you're not selling people things. Like, you're just literally putting out content that continues to put what you do in front of people. It's actually easy to do that. It's hard to think of creative ways to sell all the time.
Yeah.
But the companies that don't do that all the time are winning by producing lots of just content for it.
Lots of content. Okay. So if you could give people a couple just like practical things from this podcast that they can implement, what do you think would be the first thing?
Well, I think a couple things. I think first of all, I would challenge you to one day just think about how many times in a day you're currently using voice in some way. Probably half the people that are listening to this or watching this have one of those devices, whether it's Alexa, whether it's the Google Homes, whether it's an iPhone. I don't think people realize sometimes how much they use voice until, like you said,
think about it.
Until you don't even think about it, or you don't have it, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
I literally ask every time I walk into a room to turn the lights on. Like, it's so when you first come to the realization of that, it should make you at least be like, I need to pay attention to this, because if it's so natural to me, it's the same reason when we tell people like, why in the world are you not spending money on social media when all you do is spend time on social media? But yet they complain that their clientele isn't on there. It's like, no, everyone is. So it's bringing awareness, first of all, of just that it is going that way, and you know it is because you're seeing yourself do it.
Right.
It's only going to get more like that. And then just think about, like, what are you doing? What does your company sound like? If we went through and played a bunch of random chimes or jingles, let's just call them, for different companies. There's companies that have like a sound that you know, like the little IBM sound, doo doo doo, that little whatever the thing is. It's an interesting concept to think about, like, what does your company sound like? And if you don't have an answer to that, which most people don't, I don't know. But it's going to matter eventually, because when something can't end with your logo, it's got to end with the sound. When people translate, people's senses are just going to be different when they're just listening to things. It's the reason why podcasts are so popular right now, and why they can be more popular. Because there's people that are listening to this right now driving in their car. They can't do something else while they're driving in their car. People listening to this doing the dishes, whatever. I don't know, wherever people listen, but that's why podcasts are so popular. And that's why voice is so popular, because while you're washing your hands and you suddenly realize you need to order more soap, you can't grab your phone full of soap and water all of your hands. You can't. But you can say a couple words and it's ordered. And when they order more soap, are they going to say they need more Dove soap? Are they going to, whatever. Right, exactly. Your brand, different people are going to think different things. So I think that it's hard to necessarily say, like, your action step should be create an Alexa skill, start a podcast, because I know a lot of people won't. I think the action skill should just be, are you even thinking about it, like what it's going to look like. And if it's not even remotely come to your mind, hopefully this will kind of just spark something of like, okay, this isn't tomorrow. Voice isn't taking over tomorrow, but neither was social media 10 years ago and 8 years ago and 5 years ago.
Right.
And the companies that lead the way dominate. And you may think to yourself, I have no clue what we do, but maybe we'll just do something like this and maybe it'll catch. The good thing is there's not much competition in voice right now.
Correct.
So nothing you really do is bad. Like
yeah,
and even if no one's really using it, but people start to develop skills, then you at least understand because you've developed random apps or you've developed random ways of like, can we once we talk about the 8-7, your thing that's based on for women, you could have a skill that is a minute little motivational thing that when they start their morning routine, it gives them some sort of splash of motivation to just make people feel good. That matters. Like people are, like those kind of things matter. Yeah. So what does it look like for each company? Yeah, exactly. There's so many different things that companies can do. I don't know what it looks like for every company. I just think that it is important to realize that it's really important and figuring out what it looks like for each company. Just having it being thought about is the important thing. Yeah. Because you definitely want to be thinking about what's coming next. Yeah. Because it's the next big wave of stuff. Yes, television went to all devices, and devices are going to be less and less of a thing, and it's going to be. I love the change. I love that kind of stuff, and I love time saving things. Yeah, I love time saving things. Yeah. And to me, that's what this is all about. The reason it dominates. People's biggest asset in life is time. It's the only thing that we all have the exact amount of. The richest person in the world has the exact same amount of time that you do.
Oprah has the same amount of time.
That's right. But seriously, so the only thing, like, since it's the only thing we're all equal on, everyone figures out how to get more of it. And you can't get more of it, so you figure out how to save it.
Right, exactly.
And when you save people time, you win. And so how does it look like at the pizza shop? I don't know. But you better figure it out.
Better figure it out. And it's time to start the conversation. Yep. So we love to keep the conversation going as well when we have these podcasts, because we love to hear what you guys think. And, because multiple minds are better than one. So if you have an idea or, something that a little nugget that you got from this that you want to expand on, like we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, and if you're a person that like relies heavily on voice, I would love for you to like comment below whether you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. I would love to know like how many times when you think to yourself that you use voice in any given day, or maybe already today by the time you're listening or watching this, how many times have you used it? Because I think it's just fascinating to think about that. Because more than half of the searches on Google now happen with voice through devices, and it's crazy. That number was not that high.
It's amazing.
It's crazy. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thanks for joining us. We're so excited to see you soon. We've got some exciting things coming up.
Yeah.
Some guests.
Lots of new guests. Some really cool topics.
Yeah.
We're trying to get back on a rhythm. The hard part about the podcast is we record it and we have to edit it, and we have to try to obviously navigate making sure we're doing work for our clients. Yeah. But we're going to definitely get on a more consistent schedule, hopefully every week again like we were. And we have lots of guests already lined up and topics and great things about leadership, teamwork, growth, so many different things that I think will resonate a lot with any size company. So, So thanks for watching.
See you next time.